You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles. Queen. The Jester. Queens get the money.
All day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can add another day in there too.
So we are still sitting here with Charlotte Rene Woods of Charlottesville Tomorrow, talking about her great article, great work, research that she's doing right now that you can find on cvilletomorrow.org in regards to Charlottesville's 10th and Page area and how it has fewer trees and higher temperatures than any other residential neighborhoods here, and how it's not by accident. And we have a poll up right now as well on our Facebook.com/IMHO Talk Show. And the poll is climate change a racial equity issue? Is climate change a racial equity issue? So y'all go ahead and chime in there. We appreciate you, family. So, Charlotte, for those that's just joining us, let's go ahead and introduce our esteemed colleague again.
So we have with us today Dr. Jacoby Wilson. He is also apparently colloquially known as Dr. EJ for environmental justice.
And Scooby. Dr. Scooby.
Yeah, it's funny, man.
Yeah, it's Dr. Jacoby. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really appreciate you. So, hailing from the University of Maryland. So, you, have been picking up on a lot of our conversation so far. So you can take it wherever you want to take it. You're the expert, but yeah. definitely being up that way in Maryland. Hoping that you can provide some insight that will engage our urban community right here in the city of Charlottesville.
Yes, sir. I mean, you just had the poll question, is climate change a racial equity issue? You can't address climate change without addressing racism. And I'll tell people out there right now, climate change, you may not believe in climate change, but climate change believes in you, okay? Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean by that is, if you think about climate change and climate injustice, right? You gotta look at how heat waves are hell for the poor and the elderly. Why is that? Because black and brown communities, look at history. The National Highway Defense Act, we had highways and byways built through our communities. What does that mean? Well, they wanted to get rid of you. So if you got a highway going through a community, what happens? When you burn diesel from a bus, from a big truck, you burn gasoline in the car, you get combustion byproducts. You get greenhouse gases. Y'all already talked about that. You also get those co-pollutants. Now, with the heat island effect, what is that? You got a lot of concrete and asphalt. What does it mean you got a lot of concrete and asphalt? It stays hotter during the daytime. It stays hotter at night. With greenhouse gases, they get trapped. So it stays hot. Remember those co-pollutants I talked about, right? What's a co-pollutant? Well, those things that cause public health problems, like particulate matter. So it's hot, you get dust in the air, particulate matter. Guess what particulate matter does, folks? It leads to asthma attacks, elevates your blood pressure, causes heart disease, causes Alzheimer's, contributes to diabetes, infant mortality rates, birth defects, low birth weight babies, cancer, reduces your life expectancy, right? Yeah. So that's just one pollutant. Wow. Okay? For kids of color who ride school buses, think about this. Short-term exposure to diesel exhaust impacts the concentration, the coordination, and your focus. How do you expect our kids to learn that have been exposed to diesel exhaust? Someone says, put America first. How you gonna put America first, folks, and put your kids first? You got kids living in communities without trees. Kids living in communities with too much concrete and asphalt. Why I mention trees? You already talked about trees. Trees are good for heat mitigation. What do I mean by that? Keeps things cool, right? Y'all know, I'm from Mississippi. Look at iced tea under the tree, keeping yourself cool, right? Noise pollution mitigation. Trees act as a buffer, right? Air pollution mitigation. Trees are our lungs. If you ain't got a tree, you ain't got your lungs. Trees absorb pollutants, right? Think about all the benefits of trees. Playability. Hey, you can grow fruit on trees. I got 4 cold cultivar mango trees in my house right now. That's right. I would turn the camera for those of you, my colleagues there, but you see a little bit junky in my office. But I'm saying, growing trees isn't food for us, right? So there's so many benefits of trees. So if you live in a community where you got too much concrete and asphalt, you don't got any trees, and guess what? A lot of low-income folks don't have air conditioning. That's why you'll have heat as a physical stressor, and then air quality problems, chemical stresses. Together, heat waves, again, are hell for the poor and the elderly, and that's why you have high asthma rates, and you see people dying from heat stroke, right? I'll pass the mic back.
Did Dr. EJ answer your question, Razor? You still confused?
I didn't know that heat was the Ku Klux Klan in the black community. That is, but one thing that he did say, man, that it takes me back. Now, like I said, I was never in the street, but I do know that every summer, people started getting shot, people started fighting, people started acting like they lost their mind.
Think about that. That's very true.
Until he said it the way he said it. You know what I'm saying? So
I got sort of a funny comment on that. Like, one of my best friends growing up was from Southeast DC, Minnesota Avenue to be exact. I never forget, he was hanging with me one time, and we were playing ball, street ball at the park. And he was getting so riled up, and I was like, dude, calm down. He said, man, it's summertime, it's hot. And I didn't understand it at the time. Yeah. But y'all schooling me today.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Y'all really schooling me. But man, I mean, I was gonna say, like, that was so much, and in that Dr. Jacoby, truly appreciate this valuable insight, because I didn't even think about what stood out to me the most, maybe out of all that, was how we've been talking about, like urban gardening, and like even if you do like rooftop gardenings on, rooftop gardens on if it's a housing development or wherever you may be, apartment building. So he mentioned that on how the trees could provide that as well.
Dr. Jacoby, I appreciate it. So the first thing when you were talking, and that information was powerful, but so obviously I'm not sure if you sound like somebody that's read this book, which is Isabel Wilkerson's The Warmth of Other Suns, and talking about the Great Migration. But when you're talking, I start to think about the black people that traveled from the South, and they were now pushed into these concrete jungles.
Yes, sir.
This is going to sound, maybe I got my tinfoil kufi on. I might go a little hotep on you.
Don't worry. Go ahead. You said hotep. Go ahead.
But I can't not think that even the drive to push people into these areas that were so this drastically different from those southern areas. You had lakes, you had natural food, you had farming, you had gardening, you had all this, and then now all of a sudden these southern people.
Excited.
You know where I'm going.
Excited.
You know where I'm going.
No, let me just go ahead. Let me talk to folks now.
Go ahead.
Now, I'm from Mississippi, right? You talking about that great migration? You got a lot of folks who left. There's a whole Booker T. Washington fight about being close to the land, right? And people say we want to lead the land, we want to do something different. W.B. Du Bois, and all that back and forth, right? We were master agriculturalists, folks, before slavery.
Absolutely.
Okay. That connection to land. Yeah. George Washington Carver. Land is health. Land is wealth. Land is power. Land is culture. You got to reconnect to the land. Urban agriculture is really important. Growing your own food, right? Agriculture is really important. Food forest, man. If you people grow your own food, think about you growing your own food and some bug got to it and started eating it. You got some holes in it. You grew it. You gonna still eat that leaf? I am. If you get in the store, though, what you do? You leave it at the store. There's a different experience when you grow your own food, right? Connected to the land, right, is very important. So having green roofs and green walls, doing urban garden, doing community garden, doing school garden, that's very, very important. I mean, you think about this. Blacks have 3 times less access to nature compared to white counterparts. Low income folks have 3 times less access to nature compared to the wealthy counterparts. There's a nature gap. Right? Nature helps us, y'all. I mean, you need wetlands to absorb water. You need trees to absorb pollution. You need trees for shade, right? We are connected to the land. So when that migration and going to, like you said, a concrete jungle, there's a disconnect, right? Even access to parks. There's a study done by Boone in Baltimore that said that whites have greater access to parks. Blacks have greater access to parks, but the whites have access to bigger parks with more amenities, right? So even if you do have a park, you may not have amenity. You may be trying to shoot some ball and the hoop is not there. You may want to go, run around and you got trash on the ground, right? So even the green space access, inequities in access to green space, that's an environmental justice issue. Not having that green space impacts your ability to do climate mitigation and climate adaptation. We need nature, folks, and we are connected to nature. Okay, I'll pass the mic back.
All right, thank you.
I got a question real quick. All right, now, I hate to play devil's advocate, but I got to ask it this way, right?
Yes, sir.
Coming from Mississippi, you've seen both, and doing work in Baltimore, you've seen both ends of the spectrum, right? I'm a country boy. Not as country as you, but I'm a country boy.
Okay.
A lot of people that learned farming and stuff after the grandparents passed away was through the Votech schools. The Votech schools in Central Virginia, we don't have them like we used to. So the children out of my community don't know how to plant, don't know how to farm, don't know how to garden, don't know how to take care of themselves off the land that they're standing on. What would you recommend at this point for people to get back to? Now, I know you got raised like gardens that people can do in the city area.
Yes, sir.
Right? But a lot of those things that you see being done are being done by our sisters. They're the ones that's getting back to nature. Our men aren't, you know? Mm-hmm. And a lot of it has to do with the perception of how I look because my knees are muddy or my shoes are dirty or, you know, so that plays into the mindset. I can't do what can take care of me and my family because of the way everybody's going to look at me, which plays into mental health. So what you think about that?
I appreciate that question. I think mental health, on the mental health question, nature, access to nature, studies have shown when you don't have access to nature, it impacts your mental health. Y'all were talking earlier about the gun violence, the heat issues. There's also association with not having access to nature when it comes to that, right? So I just want to put that point out there. But you make a powerful point about, you said sisters out there doing stuff. You got sororities that are out there doing more work with nature, right? You got, so you look at some of the sororities that what they're doing. You got our historically black colleges, right? So y'all got, don't y'all have HBCUs in Virginia? Y'all got Virginia State. Yeah. You got Hampton. You got Virginia Union, right? Mm-hmm. We got. I live 5 minutes from Bowie State. Okay.
Wait a minute, Doc. Scooby. Did you just ask us? Wait a minute. The birthplace of America is here where we at. You know what I'm saying? We are the HBCU. I gotta rep my own stuff now. I know you're from the South, but now you got carried away.
I went to Alabama A&M University. We're agricultural school. So that's a place to start, is engaging with historically black colleges who are land grant schools. And because they're in many of our communities that have these needs. So why aren't we pushing them to be more responsive to the health needs, to the food needs, to the agricultural needs, right? To the economic prosperity because of folks of color. Because when you look at land from an economic prosperity perspective, right, you are able to knock out multiple issues at the same time. So brothers out there, you can make money by doing urban agriculture. You can make money in permaculture, right? Think about the economic opportunity structures when it comes to green investments. Let me slow down, y'all. Let me slow down a little bit. I'm from Mississippi. I talk fast. That's a joke. But I am from Mississippi, though. So climate change. We talk about the doom and gloom about climate change, right? Folks is already in doom and gloom in many communities that we serve, okay? So you got to think about it from a climate economy, climate opportunity. You have economic opportunity when it comes to green infrastructure and natural infrastructure. Yes. You just had an infrastructure bill that was passed. There's millions of dollars in that infrastructure bill for dealing with legacy pollution like brownfields. Many of our communities have a lot of brownfields, say it's an old gas station that's just there, like, plants growing over. You can do something with that. We got vacant lots in our communities. We can get money from USDA. USDA has invested a lot in bringing in farming, right, in urban agriculture. So you got Department of Energy, y'all. You got opportunities for energy efficiency, right? You got opportunities when it comes to electrification. You got opportunities to actually start your own business when it comes to charging stations, smart grids. So I know that moves beyond the food point, but there's a lot of opportunity for our folks when it comes to this climate economy. And that's a way to build wealth. So look at climate change and climate mitigation, climate adaptation as a way to build wealth, right? I like to say, let's get to a restorative economy, a justice-focused economy, a people-centered economy where we're working to build healthy communities and equitable communities and just communities. That's where brothers and sisters out there listening, there's money to be made. Yes. Okay? There's jobs to be had. There's businesses to be started when it comes to mitigation and adaptation around climate change.
Admittedly, I've never heard someone talk about climate change or tree canopy in this form before. It just doesn't sound this way in our area. And just listening to what you were saying, Dr. Jacoby, I remember the former Charlottesville police chief making a comment about police departments that are more effective are those where the officers are more educated. And I only bring that up because if an officer is more educated, I would assume they would be privy or aware of the information you just shared in terms of how heat affects these neighborhoods that they respond to in the summertime with more aggression, versus considering what outside factors may be impacting the people that they are over policing, because that's the only way to really solve the problem. They feel it's just excessive policing. And I guess the other comment I'd like to make is that I could see where our local government, I could see where groups that are advising our local government in terms of tree canopy could benefit from hearing information like this, because it's just not relayed in a sense of the detriment of the lack of tree canopy is having on the Black community. It's just, we need some extra trees, like Razor said, we need some extra trees. But there's a lot of things at stake here that either people aren't aware of, oblivious to, being, just discarding because it's not important to them. But this conversation is very eye-opening, and it's something that I feel like local people, especially those in a position to make decisions, need to understand and be aware of. It's much more urgent that we have this tree canopy, I'm understanding now, than what I once knew, and I'm sure what a lot of our listeners once knew too.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of, when you're talking about addressing climate change and being proactive, whether within your individual household or within your local or state or federal government, a lot of people see it as like this big global issue, and it can seem really far away or really close. But I think that's why Dr. Wilson's work and a few others, this growing study of these intersections and how climate change is also a racial equity issue, and people there are different vulnerabilities around the country and around, just looking in our own backyards on how people are affected differently by climate change. And so, like, seeing more of this work pop up, I think for me it's been fairly eye-opening. I had some inklings, but being able to work on this, I just hope that I can keep helping share this and then work like Dr. Wilson's, just further highlighting those connections.
Absolutely. And thank y'all once again. We are up against the hour, Dr. Jacoby, but please allow us the privilege to have you back on air with us. We would love to have you. Great conversation. And you're muted right now, Dr. Jacoby.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'd love to be back on. I just want to say, when you look at these issues, you got to make it every day. You got to make it proximal. You got to make it pocketbook. So climate change and environmental justice connected to 5 things: food, faith, family, health, and jobs. That makes it real for folks. Food, faith, family, health, and jobs. That's how you make climate change, increase people's literacy and knowledge and the ability, the agency to act upon it. You can't talk about what's going to happen down the road. It's already happening now.
Right. Thank you for that. And Charlotte,
yes, sir.
Great work as always. And I know you'll be following up with us on the next phase of this.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. All right, Miss Max, you want to take us home?
Yeah,
we're not home, but the break. We be back, y'all.
Let's go to break. If you want to give us a call, 434-422-9101 with any questions or comments. Thank you again, Dr. Jacoby. We'll be right back after the break.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.